Hello everybody, welcome to the North of Tyne Cabinet meeting. Let's crack on. We have one apology, that's Councillor Nick Kemp, and I've received no declarations of interest. If anybody does have any, then please just correct the record. So welcome everybody, Cabinet members, and Lucy Winskill from the LEP and Lisa Goodwin from the VCSE sector. Nice to see you, Lisa. So the first item is to check, actually it's an announcement. A lot of people will be aware that council taxes are going out, local authorities are setting their budgets. People might not be aware that the North of Tyne and the Mayor have the power to raise a precept on the council tax. We've not done that previously, we're not doing that again this year. That means that as we roll over into the new mayoral combined authority, there will be no precept going with that. And it means that everything we've done has been funded from the money we've got from central government or the money we've levered in from the private sector, which runs into the hundreds of millions. And I'm sure that will be very welcome to a lot of people struggling through a cost of living crisis. And I would like to say I really do feel for my local authority colleagues. I'm well aware of the pressures on their budgets, how difficult it is. And as an independent, I have the freedom to say I would very much like any national party to make a commitment that they will restore local government finance. Local government does so much, holds together so much in our local communities, and really does need to be funded properly. So with that, let's move on. Can we have an agreement that the minutes of the previous meeting are a correct record? Thank you. And we'll go straight on to Councillor Johnson. Carl, do you want to give us the investment fund update, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm delighted to be able to update Cabinet colleagues on two important areas of progress of the Combined Authority delivering on behalf of the region. This includes £28 million of new projects which are being brought forward by the Combined Authority with partners, with also excellent progress being made with the UKS Shared Prosperity Fund and Brownfield Housing Fund programmes. And second, work is undertaken within the region with government to co-design the North East Investment Zone. The investment zone is a £160 million initiative over the next 10 years. We're at the stage of the development of the investment zone proposition where we are now seeking the necessary approvals from Cabinet. Starting with the economic backdrop, as set in the report, the latest official data shows that the UK economy remains weak. Nevertheless, the latest survey by the North East Region Chamber of Commerce shows there are signs of positivity in the region as our businesses think about the year ahead. And the purpose of the investments announced here today is to amplify this positivity to help support growth opportunities and translate them into opportunities for our residents. Turning to our investments, I'm delighted to be able to provide such a diverse range of updates this month, covering many of my Cabinet colleagues' portfolios. First, just under £1 million to support the digital innovation by businesses working in healthcare settings. This project is being brought forward by the Centre for Process Industries in collaboration with HSN, Northumbria Healthcare NHS Trust and other partners. They will work with 40 businesses to help them develop new products using new digital technologies. And this is part of the wider 5G and future connectivity programme. Second, £1.2 million of further investment into the Brownfield Housing development. This scheme is for development of the Hadson Industrial Estate in Northumberland. It will bring forward 67 private market sale homes and 8 affordable homes, while every home will also adopt low-carbon technologies. Third, 2 projects will support residents to decarbonise their own homes. The One-Stop Shop project will provide housing retrofit advice to over 1,200 residents, helping them reduce carbon emissions and their energy bills. The Local Energy Advice Demonstrator is a targeted programme which will include specialist advice for hard-to-retreat properties across the region. This project is being brought forward and using additional funds which is secured from the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero. Both projects will be delivered by the NTCA Trust working with partners. Fourth, a small grants programme to community-based support to residents. The North Tyne Combined Authority will fund 17 projects which help around 1,300 residents. They will provide a wide range of services focused on tackling barriers to employment, with community organisations drawing upon their specialist areas of expertise, engagement and local assets. The total value of these projects is almost £750,000. Fifth, we have a £23 million of capital investment which has been unlocked by the North East devolution deal. In addition to seeing through the important commitments that we have made as a North Tyne Combined Authority, It's important that the North East Mayoral Combined Authority is able to hit the ground running when it's established in May next year. To enable this, NTCA will be the accountable body for a programme of capital investments until NEMCA is launched. We are now bringing forward the first phase of these projects, with more to come out at the next meeting. Further details are available in the paper of projects we will support, which include delivery of a world-class international conference centre, arena, hotels, hospitality venues and quality public realm at Gateshead Quays. The next phase of development at Akeley Heads in Durham to create a lead innovation district in partnership with Durham University. And further development of Net Park, and development set to deliver 230,000 square foot of new lab and scale-up production space. Turning to the North East Investment Zone. Investment zones have been introduced by the government to accelerate economic growth through the clustering and agglomeration in specific sectors with significant growth potential. The North East was invited to bring forward a proposition when the policy was announced in March 2023, alongside 7 other English regions. In November, government announced that the programme would be extended from 5 to 10 years, with the total amount of funding available for each investment zone increased from 80 million to 160 million. Following to an extensive process of co-design with the government, alongside consultation with engagement and businesses, universities, FE colleges and other stakeholders across the region, the key features of the proposed North East Investment Zone have been agreed. The investment zone will have a focus on opportunities around offshore energy at Blythe Energy Central and the Tyne Powered Corridor, batteries at the International Advanced Manufacturing Strategic Site and Blythe Energy Central, electric vehicles at the International Advanced Manufacturing Strategic Site, and associated advanced low-carbon manufacturing materials and research at Net Park. The paper sets out more detailed support which will be available to businesses, including to support infrastructure, capital investment, skills and innovation alongside tax incentives. Cabinet will be asked today for important approvals in relation to the investment zone. This includes for an agreement to be put in place with the relevant local authorities around businesses' rate retention, for the proposition to be finalised and submitted to government, and for North Tyne Combined Authority to act as the accountable body. We are expecting the government approval of this project in March. Many thanks to all the colleagues for their contributions to the development of these projects. I hope you agree with me that this set the mark a major contribution to inclusive economic growth across the region. I recommend this report to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Has anybody got any questions or comments they would like to make on that report? Lisa, please.
Just to say, I'm really encouraged to see the small grants programme in there, and thank you so much for the flexibility that made that happen. I'm sure people here are aware that some of the voluntary sector couldn't benefit from the larger UK SPF programme, so having something in there for those smaller community organisations is really excellent to see, and thanks for all the work that went into that.
Well, thanks, Lisa, that's appreciated. For anybody who doesn't know, the criteria that come down from government made it very hard for a lot of smaller organisations to benefit. This is one of the benefits of devolution. We were able to rework that framework so that an awful lot of small community organisations who do fantastic work helping people find work, deal with their well-being, are now getting funded. So that is good news. I can't see anyone else coming in there. You obviously did such a comprehensive job on the report, Carl. What is interesting about this is that even ahead of the creation of the wider North East Mayoral Combined Authority, areas south of the Tyne are benefiting already. It's wonderful that devolution's doing such a good job on behalf of everybody. Thank all the team involved in that, the political team, those who aren't here today, as well as all of our officers, to do such a fantastic job into this transition. Fingers crossed, let's not jinx it, but it does seem to be going well. So let's run through these recommendations. Most of them are to note what's in the report, so I think we can take that as read. We note the progress on the investment fund, UK SPF and brownfield housing programmes. We note the NTCA will act as the accountable body for capital investment, and that the Chief Exec will make final improvements and associated decisions with those things. That's Cabinet recommended notes 1, 2 and 3. And to note the advanced stage of development in relation to the North East Investment Zone. Yeah, that's been, it's taken some time, you said, Carl. I remember talking to ministers back in August 22 about that, and we're finally getting there. This is the one substantive item. For good governance, we do have to agree that the North of Tyne Combined Authority should act as the accountable body for the North East Investment Zone once it's established, in theory, in April 2024. And I can see lots of nods there, so we've agreed that. And then to note that Northumberland, Sunderland and South Tyneside councils will be asked to approve proposals around the investment zone business rate retention sites, because they obviously are in their geographical areas. So we can note that. And to note the proposals around the business rates retention and to delegate authority to the appropriate officers as laid out there. So we can note all of that. Thank you, everybody. So let's move on to item 6. Important part of good governance is making sure that we know what's happening to the money. And we do, I hope. We certainly have always so far. An excellent job. So let's hand over straight to Janice, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is the third budget monitoring report of the year, taking us to a position estimated at the 31st of December. A bit different this time round in that what we've started to do is project forward to a different year end this year, so we have to take the numbers to the 6th of May, which brings an interesting challenge for us as a finance team. But nevertheless up for it and will achieve it. So what the report does set out is an indication of where we think we'll end up at the 6th of May in terms of revised close down date. And I guess the highlight around that is the corporate budget will be in line and will be funded with expectations. Significantly, we are forecasting additional interest as a result of some higher cash balances that we've had during this year, and indeed, like many of our constituent local authorities, better interest returns on those cash balances held at the moment. What I'm proposing at the moment is that we create a specific reserve with those additional investment returns as we head towards the end of North of Tyne, just to be mindful of those projects or programmes that may need a bit of extension into 24-25, but we'll bring a further report back to Cabinet in respect of that in March. The other area included in the report are specific requests around the adult education budget and the skills programme. Quite a bit of work done reconciling the overall AAB position with the potential for in-year growth awards to different providers, which we're aiming to do this financial year. Obviously working towards being in a position for AAB, the further devolution of AAB to be ready for August 24. Therefore working with our own grant providers and others in terms of giving them some indicative funding allocations and some assurance on what that's going to look like in respect of some letters of comfort that they will receive funding. A lot of work done to develop a flexible adult skills framework, which will mean we will be able to progress and deliver on activity at pace as a result of the framework. So successfully completed the tender process around that, which was started in November 23, and hope to progress that work, which will hopefully help smooth the transition into NEMCA. And then that's about us being able to progress that work through a range of delegations around that. So a bit more of a complex report this time, interesting year end ahead, but happy to recommend the report to Cabinet.
Thanks, Janice. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, of course, to extend the financial year rather than have a financial year that's just a month long. Has anybody got any questions or comments on the report? I mean, it's all there in black and white, and actually in colour as well, some of the tables. Always makes these things easier to read. So the things that we've been asked to approve on this are just routine variances, essentially, in the delivery as happens in the course of a year. So we'll go straight into them. Yeah, I can't see anyone indicating. So item number 1, we do note that the forecast budget monitoring report as set out in the documents there The second one is an approval, and that's the issuing of the in-year growth awards, totalling 1.366 million for further adult education budget provision during the academic year 23-24, and that's set out in paragraph 8.7. And I can see people nodding away to that, thank you. Point number 3, as Janice described, is the issuing of letters of comfort to grant providers, and that's just so that as we transition, people can make appropriate plans for their organisations, as laid out there in point number 3. And yes, we've got agreements on that. Item number 4, approve the issue of the flexible adult skills framework in the organisation, as set out in section 11, and we have nods on that. And number 5 is to authorise the Chief Exec, in consultation with the Chief Financial Officer and Portfolio for Education, to approve any subsequent grant agreements or call-off contracts, again as set out in section 11. And that's all agreed. Thank you. Okay, item number 7 is the North East Mayoral Combined Authority draft budget and proposals. We're in an unusual situation. There's no one to steal too much of your thunder. Normally, we would be approving the budget for next year's North of Tyne, as you know, assuming everything goes through Parliament. There won't be a North of Tyne; there'll be a wider combined authority. We have to set the budget for an organisation that we're not, and that creates certain complications, but nothing, hopefully, too difficult. Janice.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I kind of won't repeat what I talked to Cabinet about early in November in terms of the approach taken to developing the corporate budget, and then indeed the delivery budgets, which are an indication of the funds available for investment decisions when NTCA is created. What we've done since the report to Cabinet in November, we have done some consultation with Budget Study Group across the, with NTCA Budget Study Group and indeed the Transport Overview and Scrutiny. No recommendations forthcoming from the budget engagement piece of work, but they've been fully briefed and had the opportunity to raise issues. The figures have been updated in terms of the autumn statement, but substantially confirming assumptions that have been made in developing the budgets and in terms of funding moving forward into next financial year for NTCA. So, for example, the Made Smarter programme, which the LEP currently delivers, that was confirmed absolutely for 24-25, as was the Growth Hub. And then some of the confirmation of aspects around transport, they were clarified as well. So they've been reflected in the updated information. I think what's important to note is obviously we are given an indication of reserves that we think will move across into the new organisation. That will very much depend on where we outturn as a set of organisations, but a good indication of what those look like. And as the Mayor said, there is no precept continuing into the new combined authority. So I think on that basis, I'm happy to take any questions. We have had a couple of public questions or comments more than questions, which is probably 200% more than we've ever had before, which is great in terms of, I guess, that it is about a bit of concern around the level of the corporate budget and what it is the authority's there to deliver, which we would anticipate. And just ensuring that the constituent authorities, I guess, benefit equally across the region in terms of the activities moving forward. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thanks, Janice. Yeah, on those things, obviously the corporate budget is not just larger in terms of size, it's because transport is coming in. So there's a whole set of people who operate our transport system will now come under the umbrella. That's not new employees, that's just employees moving from one organisation to another. So I think the public can rest assured on that. Any questions or comments from anybody? No? Yet again, you've done such a fantastic job of explaining everything that perfect assurance. So thanks for that, Janice. we'll go straight to the recommendations. So this is, first one is an agreement to the draft corporate budget. That's set out in section 3. That's substantially that the staff will be paid. So I think, yeah, I can see people nodding. We agree with that. Point number 2, agree the overarching delivery budgets as set out in section 4. Yeah, that's agreed. Number 3 is just to note the transport levies that were agreed by the Joint Transport Committee, and they will be issued by the combined authorities to the local authorities, and we just note that. And to note the reserve position set out in section 11, which Janice described, will be kept under review while considering NEMCA developments and additional information that becomes available, so we can note that. Thank you. And Janice, you're up again. It's all you today. So this is the North East Local Enterprise Partnership, and obviously we've got the chair here. For the benefit of anyone watching, we don't make the decisions. We are the accountable body, so it's our role just to check that the decisions are being made in accordance with good governance and helping to some extent deliver them in that way. So straight over to Janice, please.
Thank you, Chair. The standard report into Cabinet of the decisions made at the LEP over the last quarter in terms of funding decisions and grant awards to particular projects at 2 meetings since the last report into Cabinet. And that's probably it in a nutshell, to be honest, Chair.
Thank you. Unless anybody has anything to say, because they've been published through the LEP, everything's already out there in the public domain, then indeed, Cabinet, I'm sure, does note that report. So thank you very much, everybody. I know it's a short meeting, but in the middle of that, we've committed to tens of millions of pounds of investment across the wider North East. I know I say this all the time, and I know I'm in a biased position, but I really do believe devolution is great for the people of the North East, not just for the people of the North of Tyne now. So thank you, everybody, for your hard work that's gone into this. The next meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m. on the 12th of March this year, and that is in the same room here at North Tyneside Council. Thank you very much. And could I ask anybody who's not a Cabinet member or appropriate, could you leave, because there are a couple of confidential items we need to cover. Thank you.